Why do we in the UK want to work more closely with the European Union? Why do we want to work more closely with the EU? And what does working more closely with the EU actually mean? Well, here are 6 reasons why we in the United Kingdom should work more closely with the European Union. And stick around to the end of the video to find out what working more closely might look like in practice. The first reason is that our rules and our regulations are already very similar to the EU's, and getting closer would make things easier for businesses. As an example, the UK has a set of rules known as the General Data Protection Regulation, which came into force in 2018. Now, this was designed to protect people's personal data, things like their name, their address, their phone number, that sort of thing, from being mishandled by organizations. The GDPR was very similar to a regulation that the EU had already introduced, the EU's General Data Protection Regulation. And because of the UK's GDPR was so similar to the EU's GDPR, organizations only had to comply with one set of rules. They didn't have to comply with 2 different sets of rules, one for the UK and one for the EU. That made it simpler for them and it saved them money. So if we were to work more closely with the EU, including through a new data protection agreement, that could make it even simpler and could save businesses even more money. Reason no. 2. Working more closely with the EU would help make the UK a more attractive place for foreign direct investment. What's foreign direct investment? Well, it's when a company based in one country invests in a company based in another country. For example, if Toyota, which is based in Japan, decides to build a factory in the UK, that would be foreign direct investment. And foreign direct investment is good because it can bring jobs and economic growth with it. And studies suggest that being part of a larger free trading group like the EU makes a country more attractive to foreign investors. So if we were to work more closely with the EU, that could help to attract more foreign investment to the UK. Reason no. 3. Closer cooperation with the EU would allow us to work together more effectively on defense. This is something that both the UK and EU member states have said they want to do, and it makes sense for 2 reasons. Firstly, we face many of the same threats. We both face threats from Russia, for example, and so it makes sense for us to work together to protect ourselves. Secondly, working together on defense could help reduce costs, for example, by cooperating on the development of new military technologies. No. 4. Working more closely with the EU could help us to solve major societal challenges. Here are some examples. Working together, we could accelerate the rollout of electric vehicle charging points across Europe, making it easier for people to charge their cars whilst on a journey across borders. We could work together to improve air quality in our cities. We could work together to develop more sustainable farming practices. And we could work together to develop new drugs and new medical treatments. No. 5. Working more closely with the EU could help boost the UK economy. Now, this is because our economy is already very closely integrated with the EU. Lots of our trade is with the EU. Many of our financial institutions have operations in the EU, and many EU firms have a significant presence in the UK. And if we were to work more closely with the EU, that could help boost trade and investment between us, and that would benefit the UK economy. And no. 6. Working more closely with the EU could help to keep people in the UK safer. Well, by working more closely with the EU, we could work more closely together on law enforcement and on security. And that would help to tackle things such as terrorism, cybercrime, and people trafficking. So those are the reasons why we should work more closely with the EU. But what would working more closely actually look like? Well, one option is a new data protection agreement. Now, this would make it simpler for businesses to comply with data protection rules in both the UK and the EU. Another option is to participate in Horizon Europe, which is the EU's research and innovation program. Now, the UK was a participant in the previous program, Horizon 2020, and we were very successful, winning more funding than any other country apart from Germany. So participating in Horizon Europe would give UK scientists and researchers access to billions of pounds of EU funding. It would help to attract top talent to the UK, and it would help to ensure that the UK remains at the forefront of scientific and technological innovation. So there are just some of the ways in which working more closely with the EU could benefit the UK. Do you agree with me that the UK should work more closely with the EU, or do you disagree? If you want to find out more about my views on Brexit and the future relationship between the UK and the EU, you can watch this playlist here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.